Our episode opens with snow falling on the nursery and the baby pony sleeping inside. Tiddlywinks wakes up and gets the others up when she sees the snow and some of the adults playing in it.
Look, pretty! Oh boy!
Why did they have to make the baby pony speak broken English? It makes them sound like idiots. And speaking of idiots, Truly's out about, which means we can expect your usual brand of stupid. In fact, I don't know if Baby It's Cold Outside and Crunch a Rock Dog together should be called an I Must Scream Week or Truly is a Complete Idiot Week. Case in point, when Galaxy suggests something's wrong because it's actually summer, Truly tells her to take a hike and stop being a killjoy. Yeah, ignore not just the fact that it should be sunny skies and 80 degrees, but the pony whose magic is intuition saying something's wrong. Turns out Galaxy is right as we cut to Prince Edgar of the Penguins and his friend Sonny the Duck asking Edgar's dad, King Charlatan, why there's been a sudden cold snap. Turns out it's because King Charlatan put in an order to World-Destroying Weapons, Inc. Global devastation guaranteed or double your money back. His freezing machine finally came in and he's taking it for a spin. Charlatan can freeze things with his quote-unquote icy cold stare, and the machinery can magnify it to freezing the world levels. Why? Well, the show comes just short of saying outright Charlatan is a racist. Seriously, he has decided any species that can't stand the cold deserves to die. Freeze. Just listen to his attitude towards his own son's friend.
What's wrong with being a duck?
They're weak.
How?
Can they withstand the cold?
Why shouldn't we have to?
Edgar is naturally crushed to see his friend turned into a duxicle, but Charlatan could care less. I just have to say wow about Charlatan. They don't mess with any camp or mystery or anything about him. He's one bad dude right from the start and in a position to thoroughly screw over the world even worse than the king of badasses, Tirak himself. And while a xenocidal penguin is out to bring back Snowball Earth, the ponies are having a snowball fight led by none other than Truly. Go for the head, there's nothing to injure. And for those of you who think I'm too hard on Truly, seriously, try to defend her actions in the comments. I would love the entertainment. Galaxy again tries to convince them that there's something really wrong here because, again, it's frickin' summer! Well, her words don't work. The waterfall and even the rainbow freezing solid finally gets it through Truly's neutronium skull that they're screwed. Of course, the answer to all this is get Megan. Ugh. Galaxy sings the song We're Not Gonna Freeze while the Pegasi try to get across the rainbow. Remember all the trouble the ponies have getting to Megan until the end of the episode. Please do that. It's important here. As for the song itself, I like Cheryl Lynn's speaking voice, but I don't understand why she decided she had to sound like Cobra Commander was her singing coach, especially with all the S sounds in this song. Surprise is the one to make it over, and Megan is there with wing warmers so that she can make it back.
Neat. I knitted them myself.
And they don't mess with her ability to fly. That's some pretty slick knitting. Back in Dream Valley, things are getting worse. It's apparently too cold for Truly, as her stunt double Sundance will be in for the rest of the episode. They went to all the trouble to retrieve Megan so Galaxy could think of going north to the source of the cold. And yes, I know penguins live in the southern hemisphere, but Ponyland is in an alternate world, so penguins being in the north gets no complaint from me. I mean, for all we know, the ponies go by true magnetic directions, and Ponyland is actually what we would consider the southern hemisphere. Whatever the case, they head north. They're a bit aimless until Surf Rider and Sea Shimmer decide to prove that they're not so useless by leading them to King Charlatan's castle.
Thank you, Sea Shimmer. You too, Surf Rider. We'll have to go the rest of the way on our own. The ice is too thick for you to swim under.
Yeah, you used up all your useful points for the entire series with that one. Speaking of being low on useful points, Northstar and Surprise are grounded due to icing on their wings, as in actually growing icicles on their wings. Hopefully that's just on their feathers or... Ow! That means that they're going to have to hoof it through the maze and even Galaxy is lost. However, this episode just continues to pile on.
Oh, my stars! Look! An abominable snowman!
Actually, I think they prefer to be called yetis, but whatever you call them, this is the end of part 1. Part 2 starts with the Yeti staring them down. Being from Tibet, he knows Kung Fu and speaks broken English. However, Megan and the ponies escape his Yeti food and start chasing. And this scene really plays up the menace of this thing despite it looking and sounding goofy. He grabs an icicle and chases after the ponies while they're still lost. He even comes within a whisper of skewering them on more than one occasion. He eventually traps the ponies with a giant ice chunk ready to crush them with it. However, Galaxy winks on top of the ice chunk and stomps on it to break it up. The ice crumbles, and between that and falling through a wall, the Yeti is out cold. Unfortunately, Megan and the ponies escape the Yeti only to be captured by the penguins. They're taken down to the dungeon where Charlatan keeps the things that offend him. And I have to hand it to the animators here. They were able to illustrate some subtle terror into the iced animals. Edgar is trying to use the best 80s cold weather gear has to offer to warm Sunny up. You know, it might be you just befriended the wrong kind of talking duck, Edgar. He takes cover when the soldiers lock the ponies up. There's no digging or winking out of here, so they may just have to chill. Again, Galaxy has to come up with the solution as she uses her horn to melt through the bars. Edgar makes his presence known and decides after seeing his father run off the rails on a crazy train, he might as well help anyone out to stop him. The General Penguin comes in so that they can have a random scene where Edgar says that his dad has put the ponies in his custody. In fact, this episode is in so need of padding, we're going to have a random action scene here. The castle's booby-trapped because why not have a building filled with people traveling the halls filled with death traps? Ah, the new servant girl, welcome. Just thought you should know the castle is lined with traps that will kill you dead, so watch your step. Actually, that won't help you since all the triggers are concealed. But hey, the last servant girl lasts a whole week, so maybe you'll get lucky. Surprise ends up triggering the traps, which include icicles falling from the ceiling and a giant snowball chasing him into a pit of dry ice. You know, between this episode and her treasure scene in the magic coins, they might as well have drawn Galaxy wearing khaki short shorts and a tank top all the time. Fortunately, they make it through the traps and to the door of the throne room.
Don't congratulate yourselves yet. We haven't passed the worst of it.
You might think that this is an odd thing to say considering that they're at the throne room. However, now they have to deal with Mother Freezing Charlatan, who has decided they can all just die simply because they're not penguins. Personally, I'd rather take my chances with the snowball. Charlatan's naturally pissed his son is working against his new world order. He breaks out the freeze beams, but everybody dodges except for Edgar, who gets hit. This immediately has an effect on Charlatan. He walks up to his now frozen son with the look of, "What have I done?" And when the guards barge in, he tries to act like nothing's changed and demands the ponies be arrested. He then tries to say Edgar knew it was possible, and admittedly, living around a guy who freezes things carries the risk of being frozen. Now it's clear he's trying to justify his debacle to himself as much as anyone else. Many of the ponies decide to twist the knife with a song about how much of an ass he is, and ironically this works as Charlatan sheds some manly tears and admits that he is an ass. He thinks Edgar is doomed for the freezer section, but his tears had industrial strength de-icer in them as Edgar thaws. Galaxy also uses her power on the amplifier machine and thaws out the planet. The episode ends with the ponies heading for home and Charlatan swearing to be a good king and never uses ice vision to freeze the planet again. However, that doesn't rule out hitting the planet with a large asteroid to start a nuclear winter. Baby It's Cold Outside was the second and last My Little Pony episode written by Gordon Kent, who really didn't make much of an impact on the series. Definitely not like Michael Reeves, David Wise, and even Linda Wolverton did. There's no clear character growth or exploration here. It was a basic bad guy doing bad things, ponies go to stop them, have some action, and then resolve the problem kind of episode. Charlatan was definitely one of the more notable rogues in the Ponies Gallery, though. He was perhaps the most visceral villain of the series with no humor to his presentation. He was a bastard through and through, yet his being a father saved him as freezing his son forced him to actually think about what he was doing. However, how the ponies and Edgar treated him at the end brought him close to strawman territory, which dampens his effectiveness. Speaking of effectiveness, Megan was completely ineffective. The Pegasi had a hell of a time retrieving her just so Galaxy could think of going north, Surf Rider and Sea Shimmer to find the castle, Galaxy to defeat the Yeti, Galaxy to get them out of the cell, Edgar to keep them out of trouble, and really the ponies could have talked Charlatan down without her help. Seriously, after making it seem so damn important that they get her, she does absolutely nothing. Oi. Baby is Cold Outside, in the end, gets a rating of recommended. It had some fun action, and Charlatan was a badass. If it had not tried to beat the audience over the head with how bad Charlatan was in the end, I would have considered giving it a must-see rating. Still, it is a fun episode, and Kent's better episode.